So I'll start with the pediatric version of it. So Pat, you get a mannequin delivered, and as you can see, it's very light. So it's something that you can move around from one training room to the other, and it is something that you can also ship lightly. When you look at the torso here, it has also well-defined features. So if you look here around the breast region, you can see the nipples. And this is important for students because they can be able to orient themselves when they're doing auscultation. And later on, as you'll see, you can either decide to do the auscultation with the t-shirt on, or you can decide to remove the t-shirt from the pediatric version of it, or for the SAM version. So the first thing that you get is the portable torso. Then the second thing that you get in your delivery is this one here. I hope you can all see it. So this is a SimScope. I'll explain it in detail. We'll look at it. This is a SimScope. SimScope simply means from the word SimScope, a simulation stethoscope. So it just simulates the sounds. The next thing that you get in your delivery content, we provide you with the software. It comes in a CD form. And usually you can also download this and import it to your computer. So you can copy it in a USB sticker. We are trying to improve that, and we are hoping that in the next deliveries, we'll use an USB stick for that. So currently it's at a CD-ROM, and you can play this on a USB and just plug it into your computer. The next thing that is delivered is a USB cable. So the USB cable, as we'll be seeing later on, is what you will use or what you will need to be able to import the sounds. Remember, the software is inside here. So you would need to be able to interact with the software. And for you to be able to interact with the software, you need this cable here, and you just connect it here to the side port. And then on the other side, you connect it to a laptop, as I have done with my SAM Basic here. So if you can have a look here on the side, it's really easy, plug and play. Just connect it here and then connect it to your laptop, and then you'll be able to see the software. We'll be looking at the software in a couple of minutes. Then the other thing that you get in your delivery content is a user guide. So it's really in detail. It explains to you everything that you need to know about the SimScope, and it also explains a couple of other products that we have. So it's a really detailed user manual. We also have this manual as a soft copy. So if you look on our website, you're able to download it. So even after the webinar, just take a minute and read through the manual as well. So, excuse me, the delivery content is the same. So what we've seen for PAT, which is the pediatric version, is the same as that for SAM. So both of them will have more or less the same content, the same physical delivery content. One thing I want to mention at this point is that an advantage of these two mannequins, especially for you as a distributor, when you're presenting it to your customers, you can be able to explain to them how easy it is to set this up. So as you have seen, you just need to have the mannequin, place it somewhere on a firm table, and then you need to connect the stethoscope. And after connecting the stethoscope, you're good to go. You're good to do your auscultation. The other thing that you're going to see as we go through our webinar is that you need very minimal training for these two mannequins. So you just need to understand how to select the sounds and how to place the stethoscope correctly. And lastly, the other thing that you can mention to your customers is that the students, they can comfortably train with very, very minimal supervision, and necessary, sometimes even without supervision. So they are able to go into details of the mannequin. So what you're going to do now, I'm going to explain to you the SimScope. This here, because it's the most important item when you're presenting both mannequins, when you're presenting the SAM mannequin and the PAT mannequin. So as I mentioned at the beginning, so the SimScope is an electronic simulation stethoscope. I hope you can see it here. Previously, in our older models, we had different variations of the mannequin coming with or without Wi-Fi, but now we have upgraded the product to make it more comfortable to use, in that we are providing all our basic mannequins with a Wi-Fi version. As we will see in our explanation, the Wi-Fi version just means that I'm able to do auscultation without necessarily connecting this to the PC. So I will need to upload the sound. I'll need to select the sounds that I want to play. And once I have selected the sounds, I'm able to do auscultation without necessarily always having it connected to a PC or the source. So let's look at the simulation stethoscope. I'm going to compare it to a normal stethoscope so that you're able to understand the product even as you present it to your customers. So if you look here, they're both very similar in terms of structure. The only difference comes in this part here. If you look at this part, this middle part is the part that holds the electronics. I'm going to show you. Usually it is powered by a battery, and the way you do it is you just slide open AAA battery. If you just slide open, I hope you can be able to see the battery. This is the battery that you will use to operate the SimScope. And usually when you're using it as non-fi and it is connected to a laptop, it gets its power through your laptop. So you need to be careful that the battery is always sufficient. However, when the battery runs low, you get a command, a voice prompt that tells you battery low. It gives you a warning. And then a few minutes later, it's just going to power itself off. But it should comfortably work with any AAA battery. So as you can see, it has binaural listening tips. So you can be able to listen as with a normal stethoscope and place it on your ear. And then the other thing you can see is that it has a chest piece that resembles what students are familiar with. That's one advantage of using the SimScope. So the gadget is really similar to what they have to work with on a daily basis. So using the chest piece here, the students then later on, they need to walk through and identify the landmarks where they can auscultate with. Other than that, you also realize that it has a plus and minus sign at the back of it. So this is to enable you, this is what you press at the beginning to switch on the system. So you press the plus button for a couple of seconds until a voice prompt tells you system powered. So there's a voice prompt that's going to tell you that the SimScope is now on and it is ready for use. Once it is ready for use and you're doing your auscultation, you can also switch between sounds. So you can always move to the next sound, just press the plus, press plus, and then the system is going to automatically move to the next sound that you are using. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you the software. So I'll share my screen with you just to show you, because as it is now, you cannot see the sounds. Everything is in the system already. And as I mentioned before, using this USB cable, you put it at the side of the port here, and then you connect it to your laptop, as I have already done. So I did this already with the SAM. So the software that you're going to look at is the software for the SAM Basic. I have connected it already, as you can see here. So the port is connected and it is connected to my laptop. The difference between the basic version and the other versions is that for these versions here, the individual student has to listen to the sounds through the stethoscope. So for this one here, you cannot play the sounds externally. For that one, you would need the SAM2 that I mentioned at the beginning, or the SAM3G. So for these higher versions, it's possible to connect the sounds, as we had in our previous session for SAM Online. You can play the sounds and you can listen to the sounds through an external speaker. However, something that you can do with this one for group learning is that you can order several stethoscopes. So when your customer is buying, they can buy 3 stethoscopes or 4 stethoscopes or 5 stethoscopes, and all these stethoscopes can be connected to one mannequin. And when you connect this to one mannequin, so 5 of them or 7 of them, depending on the number of mannequins that the number of stethoscopes that you have ordered, they'll be able to listen at the same time, but each is doing it individually. Just a minute now, I'll sit down and share my screen with you, and then I can walk you through the software part of it. So as you can see through my skin, through my laptop, that's how the software looks like. Previously, you could not see anything on the stethoscope, but once you are connected, this is the window that appears for you. And I'll just walk you step by step through what you're seeing on my screen here. So on your top left side, there's a drop-down button. So that one will show you the Wi-Fi that you are connected to. And the next button will show you the mannequin that you are connected to. So here, as you can see, I have connected the SAM basic. And remember, during the setup, the initial setup, you have to name the SIM scope, and every SIM scope comes with a serial number. So at some point, in case your customer is interested in adding more sounds, we will need the serial number of the SIM scope so we can see the list of sounds that they have, and we can be able to assist them either increase more sounds or add more stethoscopes to that particular mannequin. So if I had several stethoscopes, then they would be listed here on this drop-down list. I've just connected SAM basic. Remember, as I mentioned at the beginning, the products are similar. The software is also similar. The sounds are different. So the sound library for SAM is just for the adult version, and the sound library for PAT is for the pediatric version. I'll walk you through the library, and at the library, usually you have a drop-down list. So you can see here we have SAM basic. When I click on it, I have a drop-down list of various sounds that I can select from. And for SAM basic, we have about 18 HAT sounds. So I'll just compare SAM and PAT basic at the same time because they are, as I mentioned, the structure is similar. So under HAT sounds, the students can select on the drop-down list, and you can pick on any sound that you want to listen to. So for example, I'm going to pick by double-clicking, and then when I click on the sound, there's a blue file on the left side. That one is for adding sound. So if I click on it, then the sound is automatically added. So if you walk with me to the right side, there is the aortic stenosis mild. It is then added to my list. And all the sounds that you select are then your scenarios. So when you now use the stethoscope in a Wi-Fi mode, the sounds that you had pre-selected here in this drop-down list are the sounds that you're going to be able to play remotely. So you don't need to go back and forth every time connecting. Once you've selected the sounds for every scenario, those are the sounds that you'll be able to play through your stethoscope. I can also add a different sound. I'll just click on atrial fibrillation, double click. Okay, I need to disconnect the sound before. So for me to be able to remove the previous sound, if I had it already, I'd click on this other arrow. This other arrow is what you use to delete sounds from the sounds that you had previously selected. So I have deleted the sound from my stethoscope, and I'm going to add a different one. Either I can add it by double clicking on the sound, or as I had previously mentioned, I can use the arrow here to add the sound. So if you move your mouse over it, it also guides you. It tells you the functionality of that, of what you're able to do that. So that is the HAT sound library for SAM. As I mentioned, we have 18 sounds for that. For PAT basic, there are 25 HAT sounds. So if we had connected the SimScope for PAT, there would be 25 HAT sounds that we can look at. Then we can look at the lung sound. And one thing that's really efficient for the students is that the sounds are also differentiated in terms of the region. So you can look at the sounds from all lobes, or you can also decide to look at them in terms of the regions, either to look at the right lower lobe or the left one. I'll just select on any. It's the same way as you did it with the HATs. So you just either double click on any of the sounds. The thing with this one here is you have to pre-select the sounds, and then you need to first play them, and after that you need to remove them from the list. Otherwise they overrun each other if I'm using that. So here you have all the lung sounds listed there, and additionally you also have some vowel sounds. And as I mentioned, there are variations to these sounds that students can listen to. So here you have 5 sounds, and when you look at the parts, the vowel sounds are 4 sounds. So the HAT sounds for SAM, they are 18 in number. The HAT sounds for PAT are 25. The lung sounds for SAM, you have a total of 19. And for PAT, you have a total of 12 for all the sounds. We'll also send you some materials at the end of the webinar just to give you an overview of all these sounds and the specific sounds that you can listen to. So that's here with the sounds library. The next thing that you see here is I have here a button that states upgrade scenarios. So at some point, the customer may want to upgrade their SimScope, and by upgrade, I mean addition of sounds. So maybe they would need they want an extra sound added to their library. Like currently, we have a case where we've uploaded a case of COVID-19. It's available for all parts, all SAM and part basic mannequins. So what the customer would do, they would just give us the serial number. They send us the serial number of the Stethoscope that they have, and then they will get the COVID-19 case uploaded for them. So they will just need to press this button here, and then if there are any uploads that have been made, it will be automatically done for them. The other thing that you notice here is we have a graphical presentation of standardized patients. So here you have the anterior and the posterior views. So if you're selecting a sound, you can be able to see here whether you're playing it from the anterior part or from the posterior side of it. So, and then on the left side here, you have a save button. So this one basically saves the selected scenarios, and scenarios are the sounds that you had pre-selected so that you're able to play them wirelessly if you prefer to. So you always have a box here showing you the sounds. And if you click, for example, you can also interact with the sounds further when they're connected here. So I can be able to stop and mute. Maybe I need to do an explanation to the students as a teacher, or I need to explain something. Then I'll just unmute it, and then it will be played again. And here you have a play button. So I can hear, but if people cannot hear, because as I mentioned, the basic versions cannot be connected to external speakers. So you can also easily increase the volume or decrease the volume, and that you can do with all the sounds that you have pre-selected. For you to hear, you can manually increase and decrease the volume, but if you are on a sound and you're doing it remotely over Wi-Fi, remember we say that you can do it using the plus or minus button that is on your SimScope stethoscope. So then when you look down here, there are also further icons that you can interact with. One of the icons is there's a pin here. So the pin here says that you play the sounds by location. So I would then move my stethoscope over the mannequin, and then I would play the sounds specifically. I would hear the sounds on each of the locations as I move the stethoscope. So if I'm in the heart region, I would hear the sounds in the heart region. If I move my stethoscope down to the bowel region, then I would hear the sounds in the bowel region. And then we also have the second file, the second one, that is play sound by file. So here is from the drop-down list that you selected, the particular files that you have uploaded, you can also play them through there. And then the third icon that you have here is for locking. It's a padlock sign. So you can lock the site. And this is important for students, for example, if you want to freeze the sounds. So if you click on this, they would have to, some of the things would be blended out for them. So you can switch off from verification mode. So they will not get any verification of the sounds. They just learn the sounds and try to memorize what the sounds are all about. Then we have, finally, you have the save button. So here you just save the selected sounds and scenarios that you had previously selected. And the last one here, as you saw previously, it simply allows you to remove any of the sounds that you had previously selected. So if you had a sound in the list and you want to change it, or you want to add another sound, you remove the previous ones, and then you can add this to your library.